Hello, this is News Plus on Viewer Television. I am Deborah Ndukaife. As the President Muhammadu Buhari marks his last May Day in office, labor union have scored the regime and state governors low, saying they pauperized workers and inflicted hardship on Nigerians. They lamented the galloping inflation in the country, which they said had eroded the 40% pay rise recently approved by the federal government with effect from January. Last week, the government paid a 40% increase in allowance to various categories of federal workers, but labor leaders said the pay rise had been lost to inflation. The Consumer Price Index reported by the National Bureau of Statistics in March 2023 indicated that Nigeria's inflation rate accelerated to a new 17-year high of 22.04%. According to World Bank, Nigeria has one of the highest inflation rates globally and the seventh highest in sub-Saharan Africa in 2022. Though the regime increased the minimum wage to 30,000 from 18,000 naira, the workers submitted that food inflation, which skyrocketed from 9.78% to 22.72% per inflation, had eroded the increase. Now, as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to celebrate the 2023 International Workers' Day, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities has raised the alarm over the exclusion of its members from the 40% pay rise for civil servants in the country. Now, the union also decried the failure of the government to release the salaries of its members, which were withheld during the 4-month strike period it engaged in during the year 2022. Labor Day, also known as International Workers' Day, is celebrated on May 1st every year to honor the working class across the world. It is celebrated as a national public holiday in many countries, and the history of Labor Day goes back to 1886 when a labor union in the United States decided to go on strike with the sole demand that workers should not be allowed to work over 8 hours a day. In a goodwill message to commemorate the celebrations, the national president of SANU, who doubles as the national internal auditor for the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mohammed Ibrahim, noted that workers were determined to contribute positively to the building of a great country. The national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joseph Ajero, has vowed that the labor union will create a hall of shame for judges that undermine the tenets of the judiciary and come up with ridiculous judgments on election petitions. Ajero, who spoke in Abuja at a joint briefing with members of the civil society group on the labor and civil society front, stressed the need to rescue the judiciary. The movement, comprising several civil society and youth organizations, insisted that the Independent National Electoral Commission had seriously damaged the country's democracy with its poor showing at the elections. They also vowed to name and shame corrupt leaders. According to NLC boss, the judiciary has set so many states and institutions on fire with ridiculous judgments and must answer certain questions from Nigerians. Addressing journalists at the end of their meeting at a Labour House in Abuja, the spokesperson of the CSO, Nkoyo Toto, accused INEC of attempting to destroy democracy by failing to uphold the provisions of the Electoral Act and even their own set rules. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, has described the demands of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors in an ultimatum issued to the federal government as absurd. Ngige said the government has given the doctors everything they want and their sense of entitlement is too much. NAD had on Saturday given the federal government 2 weeks to meet its demand or face industrial disharmony. The doctors are demanding an immediate increment in the consolidated medical salary structure to the tune of 200% of the current gross salaries of doctors. The doctors also want the immediate withdrawal and jettisoning of the bill seeking to compel medical and dental graduates to render 5-year compulsory services in Nigeria before granting them full license to practice. Speaking in an interview, Ngige said the doctors' demands are absurd and have the option of leaving the country. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control in Nigeria said it would commence the random sampling of Indomie noodles, including the seasoning from the production facility and the market on Tuesday. NAFDAC also said the importation of Indomie noodles into Nigeria had been banned for many years, were on the prohibition list. This is following the detection of a compound called ethylene oxide, a potentially cancerous substance caused in Indomie special chicken flavor noodles by health officials in Malaysia and Taiwan. Both Malaysia and Taiwan have recalled the product, and meanwhile, the makers of Indomie noodles, Indofood, defended the safety of its product, saying all instant noodles produced by ICBP in Indonesia were processed in compliance with the food safety standards from the Codex Standard for Instant Noodles and standards set by the Indonesian National Agency for Drug and Food Control. The National Association of Nigerian Students in Sudan says all stranded students in the war-racked North African country have been evacuated from the country's capital, Khartoum. The public relations officer of the association, Amal Pantami, made this known in a statement. More than 500 people have been killed and tens of thousands of people have fled since battles erupted on April 15. Recall the federal government on Sunday said it spent $1.2 million on bus fare to evacuate stranded Nigerians to Egypt borders for onward airlifting to Nigeria. The fighting pits the forces of Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan against his ex-deputy Mohamed Hamdan Daglo, who commands the Rapid Support Forces, a heavily armed paramilitary group. We're going on a quick break, and when we come back, News Plus continues.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm at the Envoy Hotel, Diplomatic Drive 305, here for a business weekend. It's been an amazing stay. Conference hall and business facilities here are stylish and innovative. The Envoy Hotel is luxury, esoteric, opulence, for ultimate comfort.
Discerning travelers, we are more than just a place to stay. We are an icon of comfort, style, and thoughtful luxury. We are Envoy Hotel.
Before you came round, my heart would never beat.
The story of a charmer and his crush.
Before you came round, I was ready to slow down. Before you came round, I was heading for a small disaster. Before you came round, I was ready to blow me down.
Tat Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
Welcome back, and still on News Plus, Egypt has given Nigeria stringent conditions for stranded Nigerians to cross its borders. The first set of 637 Nigerian students evacuated from Sudan are stranded at the Egyptian border with that war-torn country. Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Oyama said the Egyptian authorities had not opened its border with Sudan for the students 3 days after their arrival. Oyama said the Egyptian authorities had insisted on clearing all the 637 Nigerians before they could be allowed entry into their country. He explained that the federal government might move the students to Port Sudan for evacuation if Egypt delayed further. The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board have said it would commence the release of results of the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Board on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. This was contained in the minutes of meeting held at the end of an emergency management meeting held over the weekend in Abuja. In the minutes, the board noted that the delay in the release of results was due to the fact that it wanted to ensure that all necessary screenings were concluded. Similarly, the examination board also noted that 3 categories of candidates who missed the examination had been rescheduled for mop-up examination. And also, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board have again rescheduled the computer-based Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination for candidates who experienced hitches at their centers. Affected candidates whose inability to take tests was not their fault and now to sit the test on Saturday, 6th of May. JAM spokesperson Fabian Benjamin said in a statement, he said the development was part of the decision taken at the JAM management's emergency meeting held on Sunday. Benjamin listed that the categories of candidates affected to include those who were verified at the centers but could not sit the examination, those who could not be biometrically verified, and those who with mismatched data. He noted that affected candidates are to print their slips on or before Thursday so as to know the time and venue of their examination. Now, the National Population Commission has said it will not proceed with the payment for ad hoc staff since they will not be engaged in any field work after indefinite postponement of the 2023 census. The MPC census manager, Dr. Inuwa Jalingo, said this during a media chat in Abuja. He also noted that for those who would be engaged online, the Commission will likely provide for their data costs. He further noted that the Commission was technically ready to implement the census and that preparation for the exercise continues. Also speaking, the Director of the Public Affairs Department MPC, Dr. Isiaka Yahaya, urged the Nigerians to dismiss misconceptions that the census was postponed due to lack of funding and inadequate preparation by the Commission. Yahaya also noted that the nation was not losing anything by postponing the census, but gained a lot by having extra time to continue preparations to have effective data that would aid planning. The National Youth Service Corps Batch A Stream 2 members had been admonished to uphold a high standard while serving their fatherland. The message is coming from the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, ably represented by the Commissioner, Human Services and Social Development, Hafsat Baba.
Your predecessors over the years have been able to leave several legacies behind in all facets of our society. I therefore urge you, as you are coming on board to the NYSC's program, try to render your services at the various areas of our national needs, prepare to face the challenges ahead, and be resolute to tackle the multifaceted problems confronting our dear country. As you are starting your national service, I admonish you to be disciplined, loyal, committed, hardworking, and respectful to all constituted authorities.
In the same vein, the scheme is appealing to all serving corps members to remain security conscious while rendering their wholesome service at the individual place of primary assignment as their safety remains a priority.
A message to the core members, particularly this time around, is for them to be security conscious at all times. The country is being faced with a lot of challenges of insecurity, especially in Kaduna State, even though in our orientation camp, the security of life and property of the core members is 100% guaranteed. But after orientation, we are going to post them to different communities within the state. So it is our advice to them that they should always be security conscious wherever they find themselves.
Among them, corps members posted to Kaduna State expressed satisfaction upon arrival as they anticipate to give in their best during the one-year compulsory youth service.
I feel so great. When I actually got the letter for my youth service, I was a bit scared of like coming down to the north to come and serve. But when I got here, I got a very warm accommodation, very warm. The people here are very accommodating, and I look forward to having a very great service here.
I'm grateful actually. I'm grateful to God to be in Kaduna. It's actually my first time here. So I think I want to enjoy the opportunity to associate with the people here and by His grace I'll have a good time and also serve my country well.
A total of 1,311 corps members reported at the orientation camp comprising of 733 female and 578 males. The Labour Party in Kaduna State has debunked a trending news around social media that its gubernatorial candidate has diverted the tune of 640 million naira donation and contribution given to him to the party to win the just concluded 2023 general elections. Now, the chairman of the party, Aliyu Tafoki, made the clarification to newsmen at the state secretariat, calling it a false claim.
After due consultation, we deem it expedient and necessary to clear the air on this issue. Therefore, we wish to emphatically state the following. One, we are not only the state ESCO of the party, we are also committed stalwart of the party. We totally disassociate ourselves from the letter, the law firm and engineer Auta on this matter, as Labour Party in Kaduna State has no iota of information or proof that such huge sum came from the party through anyone.
Furthermore, the party demanded an immediate retraction from the law firm and accuser Mike Auta, who happens to be party's senatorial candidate for Southern Kaduna.
From the foregone, therefore, Labour Party in Kaduna State demand with immediate effect the following. An open apology from the law firm and engineer Mike Auta, which gave the instruction that the law firm received to include us. We demand this apology with immediate effect in both social, print, and electronic media. We demand retraction from the distancing us from the letter within 7 days, starting from today.
As the Labour Party strives to maintain unity from all state levels, the party deems it important to inform all members that none is exempted from discipline if gone astray. And on international, fierce fighting broke out again Monday between the army and paramilitaries despite the formal extension of a truce after the United Nations warned the humanitarian situation reached a breaking point. Now, more than 500 people have been killed since battles erupted on April 15 between Sudan's de facto leader Abdel Fattah, who leads the regular army, and his ex-deputy Mohamed Hamdan Daglo, who commands the powerful paramilitary rapid support forces. Millions of Sudanese around the capital have since hidden in their homes with dwindling food, water, and electricity as warplanes on bombing raids have drawn heavy fire from anti-aircraft guns. Burhan and Daglo have agreed multiple poorly observed ceasefires and extended the latest formal truce on Sunday by 72 hours, with each side repeatedly blaming the other for the frequent violations. Millions of Sudanese are trapped in the country where aid workers were among the dead, humanitarian facilities have been looted, and foreign aid groups have been forced to essentially halt all aid operations. Sudan's former Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok has issued red flag over the ongoing violence in his country, warning the clashes could deteriorate into one of the worst civil wars than those experienced in Syria and Libya if the fighting is not stopped. The former premier is now calling for a truce between the warring generals from both Sudanese army and the rapid support forces. The former leader further insisted that there should be a defined role of the military in Sudan rather than engaging in politics and the leadership of the country. Hamdok was answering questions from Mo Ibrahim, who is the founder of the Ibrahim Foundation, when he also called for a strong and unified approach by the international community in helping end the conflict that poses greater risk to millions of Sudanese. The fighting is the culmination of power struggle between Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohamed Hamdan Daglo, head of the RSF and also known as Hemeti. Now the Taliban will be absent from the United Nations-led talks that opened Monday in Qatar on how to handle Afghanistan's rulers and press them to ease a ban on women working and girls going to school. Envoys from the United States, China, and Russia, as well as major European aid donors and key neighbors such as Pakistan, and among representatives from about 25 countries and groups, called to the 2 days of talks by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The Taliban government has not been invited, and in an open letter to the Doha meeting, the coalition of Afghan women's groups said they were outraged that any country would consider formal ties because of the record of the government that says its handling of women's rights is an internal social issue. The United Nations and United States have insisted that recognition is not on the agenda. And since ousting a foreign-backed government in 2021, the Taliban authorities have imposed a version of Sharia law that United Nations has labeled gender-based apartheid. Russia strikes killed one person and wounded three others in the Ukrainian region of Kherson, a regional official said on Monday. Moscow also launched a hail of missiles across Ukraine early on Monday, with Kyiv reporting it had shot down most of the projectiles. Russia still controls part of the Kherson region, having withdrawn from the eponymous regional capital last November. It launched a volley from about 2:30 a.m. on Monday, officials said. The Ukrainian Air Force said on Telegram that 18 missiles were launched from planes, with 15 of them destroyed. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron faces more nationwide protests as he seeks to steer the country on from divisive pension laws that sparked anger, pan-banishing, and social unrest. Last month, he signed a law to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64, despite months of the strikes against the bill. He and his government have since tried to turn the page on the episode of popular discontent, one of the biggest challenges to his second mandate. But protesters have booed and banged pots and pans at him on his forays into provincial France to meet members of the public. Monday marks the first time since 2009 that all 8 of France's main unions have joined in calling for protests. And that's all the News Plus. Many thanks for watching. I am Deborah Ndakaifi. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.